and it's something to think about while you run, is your form, because it takes your mind off of a 16-mile run that you just came in from, and you're tired and you're thinking about this hurts, and instead of thinking about that, think about your form, because then you won't be worried about how you feel tired. You'll just be thinking about how am I going to be running so that I don't feel tired. And what I do is, I'll do it now too, it's kind of like a head-to-toe diagnostic. And just as your car would have little lights telling you when something's going wrong, we don't have a built-in system telling us when we're doing something wrong. We have to use our mind and we have to think about it. So I'll just go from head to toe, and this is the same thing you can do while you're running. Think about, am I running efficiently? And by running efficiently, it means you're using the right form, the right physical movement, so that you're not wasting energy. You're putting out energy, you might as well recover as much of that as possible and put that into your run. So starting at your head, your face, just nice and relaxed, as if you were talking to someone across a dinner table. So what you don't want, and this is what you see people get tired, they'll start to swing. Some people rock their neck back. Some people will hang their head. Some people will start to squint their brow. Just nice and relaxed, as if, you know, all that extra movement is not, if you think about it, that's not going to help you go any faster. So nice, relaxed, and you start working your way down to your neck and your shoulders. Again, it's the same idea. Relax, relax. I think about my arms, and my shoulders just hanging here, just as clothes would on a hanger. Okay, if there's a little tension, that's one thing. But again, when you get tired or you see other people tired, you'll watch their arms, shoulders creep up, and that's just tension, and you're using energy that's not helping you run faster. And it's tightening you up, and it really is hindering you. A lot of the things that we instinctively do when we get tired are just going to make us more tired. So that's why we've got to think and kind of override what our body wants to do. Coming down with the arms, a few things with the arms. One, if I face you, you want your arms swinging forward, not across. And this is again something you'll see people do. And you can do this as easily yourselves if you just stand here and swing your arms forward and then start moving them across that center plane. The first place I feel it when I do this is right here, because everything's connected. If your arm starts moving across, it's bringing your shoulder, your torso, your hips. If your hips start moving this way, what's next? Your legs. So you want to be going in this direction, not this way, not that way, and it can start with your arms. So I just imagine that there's a wall here. Sometimes I imagine there's a wall to the side of me, and that I'm running so that my arms aren't hitting this wall, my elbows aren't hitting that wall. And this is something one of my biomechanical flaws is my right arm tends to swing out. So I always have to imagine there's a wall right next to me, and I want to try and keep moving forward. The angle of your arms, again, we'll talk about physics for a second. If you were walking around with a gallon of milk, which is going to feel heavier, with your arms straight out or your arm walking with it here? Straight out. We don't walk around like this for a reason, because it's heavy, it feels heavier to us. The milk isn't any heavier. It's the same milk jug. And this is the physics principle about the longer the lever, the more work you have to do. So it's the same thing with your arms. Sometimes, and this is, again, people have natural arm swings. It's hard to overcome some of it, but you'll watch people running along and their arms are down here. It's more work. If you picture, the Kenyan distance runners, often their arms are just right here, moving real quick. And that helps, if their arms are moving quick, it helps their leg turn over real quick. So generally somewhere between 85 and 100 degrees for their arm swing. And your arm will there'll be a little bit of motion at your elbow joint. It might not be locked rigid. You can have a little bit of motion, but try not to let your arms fall too far down. And if they're too tight, it's going to feel too awkward. So around 90 degrees is a good place to think about. And thumbs up. This is all part of that longer lever. Some people will run with sort of I call it dog paddling. And they think, well, if I'm just relaxing my wrist, isn't that better than trying to keep my hands up? Well, if you just rotate your bone this way, you're not using any energy to keep your hand up. So keep the lever short and don't dog paddle. So here you're just swinging along nice now. I kind of think of this as in thirds, and that's the upper third of your body. The middle third, there's not that much you have to worry about. Really, the only thing I think of here is keeping your hips rotated back. It's the feeling as if someone were to hit you in the stomach. You clench your abs, and it rotates your hips back a little bit. Here, you want if you do that by tightening your abs, what it also does is it helps your energy return. If I'm pushing down, why do we go forward? We go forward because we're putting energy here. The ground's not moving. The energy has to be returned this way. All right. But if I push down and I sink a little bit, I've lost some of that energy. It's not going to be moving me this way. It's being dispersed. So you hear people talk about, have a tight core and do your abs, and why do you do that? All the abs, I can do all the abs all day, but still you think I've got to use my legs to make me run fast. That's true, but what's making you run fast is after your leg hits the ground, you want that energy returning this way. So keeping a slight tension in your abs, rotating your hips back, is going to help you get the most out of the energy you put into the ground moving forward. And now your bottom third, how your foot's going to fall and where should it fall. Here we come to what I would call the most common structural error that you see amongst runners, and that's overstriding. Many runners have their foot land out in front of them. And again, if you diagram it out, what you want to do with the laws of physics, that's not where you want your foot to fall. It's essentially when your foot falls here, your center of gravity is behind where your foot strikes. Most of your weight is back behind that footfall. So you now have to pull yourself over and then accelerate again. It's why don't we climb steps 2 steps at a time? I mean, sometimes you might, but generally we don't. We just take them 1 step at a time because your body knows what it's doing. Your body knows that, again, if I've got to move all this weight back up over my foot forward, it's more work than if I take that 1 step. So when you're running, it's the same idea. You want to keep that momentum that you've generated from one stride into your next stride. And if you have to pull yourself over that pivot again, it's more work. There are a few ways you can work at trying to keep your stride length proper. One is just running along, well, I don't know the stores around here, but on Pico or Main Street where you have a lot of plate glass windows, you just use them and try and see where your foot's falling. You want it, again, under your hip, falling right under your hip. The other thing you can try and do is just imagine yourself taking a shorter stride. Imagine that you are trying to, you're standing on a treadmill and the motor doesn't work. It's your job to push the belt behind you. Well, if you were doing that, if you were on that treadmill, you wouldn't work way out like this. You'd sort of start here and try and push it behind you. You're pushing and pushing and pushing. You're pawing at the ground. You can think of it like that. So the main thing I'd say, if you walk away with nothing else, is think about good stride turnover, and that happens by getting your foot back under you quickly. Well, we'll get to. I'll ask questions if you have any questions at the end, but if you're confused about this point, definitely ask me questions at the end. How your foot's going to strike the ground. In other words, should it hit my heel? Should it be my midfoot? Should it be my toes? This is probably the one area where I'd say do whatever comes natural to you, because you can create a lot of problems at this area by trying to do something else. In other words, when I'm telling you to have your arm swing here and you might naturally be down here, you're not going to create many problems for yourself by making yourself put your arms up here. But if you start trying to run on your toes and you're not naturally a toe striker, you will probably end up with some injuries. Or try to run on your heels if you're not naturally a heel striker. What you do want to do, though, is no matter how you strike, whether it's with your heel, your midfoot, or you happen to be one of those rare people that naturally run on their toes, balls of their feet, you want that to be striking right under you. And then once I run that check, I just sort of start back up at my head again. And it keeps me, again, it gives me something to think about. And it's all the more important when you're tired, because this is when those flaws are going to jump out. Once you get tired and your mind is not focusing on this and your muscles aren't quite firing the way you want to, you revert to your old form. And unless you started with perfect form, you're going to revert to something that's less than perfect. And it's sort of like it's a double whammy, because you're tired, you don't want to be, you're naturally thinking about this is getting harder, and so you start using form that's then making it even harder still. So as you get tired, that's even more important. You start thinking about what's my form. And when you get that good form, and you may feel a little more efficient, hopefully it's sort of like a mental recharge, and you get a little more excited about the fact that this doesn't hurt so much anymore. And you get, it's all about positive reinforcement. When you're out there for, at the 20-mile mark, you want your mind thinking about good things, no matter what your body feels like. There are voices out there. Many marathons I can remember. There's sort of a devil voice and an angel voice, and the devil is like, why did I do this? I don't really care. So what if I don't finish? Where is that bus to pick me up? So that is not helpful. You want to be hearing things like, I put in a lot of training. I'm getting that. I'm going to fix my form. I've only got 6 miles to go. Don't think about the fact that you're on the 21st mile. That's a big number. Just think about the smaller numbers. I've only got 6 to go. Start picturing some easy 6-mile run that you do every day, and you just tell yourself, okay, I'm a little tired when I start this, but I can do this. That's, it's all part of getting yourself to feel as good as you can as late in the race as you can. And the more efficient your form is, that's exactly what's going to happen. That onset of doubt, you're going to push off. Hopefully it'll never come, but it happens a lot, and when it comes, you want to be able to think about something positive. Also, now that you've got the good form and you get excited and think, I want to try this out, I'm going to use this, I want to just point out that you do want to follow your plan and not be doing too much too soon. Stick with the plan. It's designed for a reason, and sometimes you feel like, well, I'm going to just try and do more and try and do more, but your body gets faster not on the hard days. Your body gets faster on your easy days. The hard days are about breaking down your body and, in essence, not being able to perform as well. But by challenging your body on the hard days and breaking, at the cellular level, breaking things down, it's on the easy days that you restore all the things that you've broken down, and it's also stimulating your body to get stronger. Your body realizes, hey, I'm being asked to run 16 miles. I need to build more mitochondria. I need to expand the capillary system. And that's what happens, but it doesn't happen if you keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. it doesn't get that chance to rebuild as well. You'll see improvement until the point where you see that you're in trouble. So just follow the pattern that the road runners have set out for you. You want to be trying to keep your center of gravity over your feet. Now the more you are leaning one way or the other, the less likely that's going to happen. So you sometimes hear about coaches saying, well, you should, try and lean, have a little forward lean. To the extent that's true, most people get that mistaken. They think, oh, I should lean from my waist or my hips. And they start thinking, oh, I'm going to lean like this. But that's not the kind of lean you want. You want to, in essence, be leaning from your ankles. Because the lean from the ankle, the slightest lean from your ankles really does create a kind of forward momentum. If you stand up here, and you can try this now or later. If I just put the slightest lean forward, I'm going to move forward. And I just barely lifted the weight off me. So that's the kind of lean if you want to think about a forward lean. But if you're running like this, basically all you're doing is asking your back to work harder. The skeleton exists for a reason. And this supports us, and it's really the most efficient way to be supported. And it's why we walk around like this, not like this. When you're running uphill, it's you're going to face the same issue really on flat ground. What you do want to do is you do want to get again, same idea is getting that foot under you. Running uphill, it's harder to do that because the land is going to meet your foot fall earlier, if you think about it. If my foot's coming down, well, if you raise the land in front of me on an angle, my foot's going to hit earlier. So the main thing running uphill is that same thing. You have to be even more sensitive to where's my foot falling. You've got to take shorter steps up. I tell people, think about pushing themselves up the hill, not pulling. You don't want to pull yourself up the hill. You want to push yourself up the hill. And so if a little lean is going to help you, if you can keep your foot under yourself doing that, that's okay. But if you can't, it's not. If the forward lean means that you find yourself smacking your foot down faster up the hill, then you're not helping yourself. It is unusual for somebody with limbs that long to be able to have that kind of the same kind of turnover that people with shorter limbs do. As well as, when you think about a tall man like that crouching in the blocks, getting himself out and into his drive phase as soon as he can do that. The only other sprinter I can think of offhand that was that tall, that good was Tommy Smith, and he was a world record holder as well. So it's sort of like, if you can take advantage of your height, which is hard for a sprinter to do, you probably will do better. I mean, if you think about it, he's got, if his stride length, if just stride length and stride frequency, and so with his limbs, if he can have the same frequency as somebody with shorter limbs, he's going to go faster. All right, well, thank you very much for your time, and I'll stick around if you do have any other questions afterwards.